What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Houston Cougars are up next. Houston coming off a pretty disappointing season last year in 2023, going just 4-8 overall, so not even coming close to making it into a bowl game. So again, a very disappointing year and a very rough year for their first year in the Big 12, of course, and now they're a Power 4 team from last year. My thoughts on this team for 2024, I think the future is definitely looking bright here for Houston. Maybe not this year, but Willie Fritz takes over as the head coach. He had a really successful run at Tulane for the last couple years. So I think he has really, the type of coaching ability to make this Houston program really good in the future. But, it's about this year. But, I really don't think they're going to be, I'm not really high on this team just because of the schedule. I think they have a really good roster, though. You look at both sides of the football. They do have playmakers on both sides of the football, and they also probably have some transfers coming over from the Group of 5 level to help out this program. So, but again, the schedule is what concerns me the most here about this Houston team. So let's go ahead and get to that schedule now here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Houston. Again, they were 4-8 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Cougars for 2024. They start things off with UNLV here on August 31st. Should be a pretty easy win here for Houston. I think they'll score about maybe 30-something points in this game. So I got Houston starting off 1-0, and then they go on the road to face Oklahoma here in the non-conference on September 7th. Very tough non-conference game here for the Cougars. Of course, Oklahoma, a former Big 12 team. Now they're heading to the SEC in 2024. So that is going to be very interesting to see what happens there for the Sooners. But I don't really see this game being all that close. I think Oklahoma's just way too talented. And plus, this is like an early season kind of game here for Houston with a new coaching staff. I just don't think they're really used to them, by this time yet. So I think Houston doesn't really have a big shot to go on the road and beat Oklahoma. I don't think it's really even a close game at all. So with that being said, I think the Sooners win this one fairly easily. So I got Houston losing their first game here of the regular season. That'll put their record now here at 1-1. And then after that, they'll play Rice here on September the 14th. This will be a home game here for Houston. Last year, of course, Houston got beat by this Rice team. Of course, this is a rivalry game. Anything can happen. The Cougars are definitely out for revenge in this game. I think they are going to be definitely fired up for this one just because it's a rivalry game. And I think Houston gets it. I think they probably come in there and really shut down the Rice offense a lot in this game. And I think the defense plays pretty well. They probably can hold Rice to scoreless points, but I think Houston wins this one maybe by double digits, 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. Again, I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I got Houston getting revenge on Rice from last year, so that puts Houston's record now here at 2-1 going into conference play. They'll play Cincinnati here to open up Big 12 play here on the road on September 21st. A Cincinnati team that I'm not really that high on this year. If you look at both of these teams, I'm not really that high on both of these teams, so I think this could be a battle here in a game that really could decide who is at the bottom of the Big 12 with some of those other teams. Cincinnati, though, is playing at home in this one. I think this is a fairly even matchup. Again, first-year head coach for Houston. You got a second-year head coach here for the Bearcats. And again, I think these teams are both pretty even. So with that being said, Cincinnati has the home field advantage. I think that's going to make the difference. I'm going to go with Bearcats here to get the win. So I got Houston losing their first Big 12 game under Willie Fritz in their first year, or actually their second year here in the Big 12. So I got them losing to Cincinnati here on the road. That puts the Cougars record now here at 2-2. Next game will be at home against Iowa State here on September 28th. A veteran Iowa State team. I think this is definitely a dark horse contender. I'm very high on this team. I think they could potentially be a top 25 team as well. They're really well coached and everything. I think Houston will come out really competitive in this game. I think they really make this one go into the fourth quarter and everything. But at the end of the day, I do like the Cyclones, roster a little bit more. They're definitely a more talented team and also definitely a more experienced team as well. So with that being said, I think Iowa State gets the win here, but it is close. I think a turnover probably will change the difference. I'm going to go with Iowa State though to get the win. So that puts Houston's record now here at 2-3. Next game will be on the road here at TCU on October 4th. This game, of course, will be on on a Friday. TCU, I think, is going to be a lot better this year. They were also a very disappointing team last season, so I did expect them to be a lot better. And also, this could be like a rivalry game. You know, both of these teams are in the state of Texas and everything, so this probably could be like an interesting rivalry game in the future, which maybe it already is, but I think TCU and Houston are both pretty even teams. TCU, though, has the home field advantage. I think it really comes down to the wire, but I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs here just because of the home field advantage. So I got Houston losing 3 games in a row, and they get the loss there on the road here at TCU on October 4th. So that puts Houston's record now here at 2-4. They get their first bye week here of the season before playing Kansas here on the road on October 19th. So they get a bye week before playing this game. I think Houston will be better by this time. I think they'll come out really competitive in this game. Both of these teams met a couple years ago in like a non-conference game before Houston, became officially a Big 12 team. But I just like Kansas's roster a little bit more. They're definitely more experienced than Houston is, and I think I really trust Jalen Daniels a lot more here than the Houston offense and everything. So with that being said, I think the Jayhawks get the win here. It's a close one, but I'm going to go with Kansas here to get the win. And again, I think that bye week does help out Houston to be really competitive in this game. But I think Kansas is definitely the more better roster, and home field advantage will be the difference. I'm going to go with the Jayhawks though here to get the win. So I got Houston now dropping to 2-5. Next game will be at home against Utah here on October 26th. This will be a home game here for Houston. Utah though is going to be a very talented team this year though, and also definitely an experienced team as well. They got a very experienced quarterback in Cam Rising, so I think this will be a very tough game here for the Cougars. Maybe this is a game that's close in the first half, but the second half, I think Utah probably pulls away in this one. I think Cam Rising really steps up in the second half as well after a really slow start. So I got Utah getting the win there, so that drops Houston now to 2-6 going into the month of November. They got to win these final 4 games to get to a bowl game, but it gets really tougher for them here in the month of November. They'll play Kansas State here at home on November 2nd, a very good team coming up this year. But again, by the time in November, I think Houston's going to be better by this time, but I just think Kansas State is a more talented team than Houston is, and also they're kind of, just like Iowa State, a very well-coached team, and they're very consistent as a program. So I think this is a close game, but I'm actually going to go with Kansas State here to get the win. Again, I think they're definitely a more talented team and definitely a more well-coached team as well. So I got Houston losing another game there. That drops their record now to 2-7, so no bowl game this year. But they get their second bye week here this season before playing a Friday night game on the road here at Arizona. This is going to be a really tough one. Having to go out west here and playing this game, it's going to be definitely a lot of traveling here for this Houston team, but they do get a bye week before playing this game to make that travel. But this game will be on a Friday night, so they probably won't have time to prepare for this trip and everything. They're not going to really have a lot of time to practice before this big-time game here on the road. So with that being said, I think the traveling and also the lesser time they have coming after the bye week and everything, I think that really will affect Houston here in this situation. So with that being said, I think Arizona is also a much more better team, but you got 2 first-year head coaches going at it here, so this might be a pretty even matchup. I think home field advantage is going to be the difference, and I'm going to go with Arizona here to get the win. So I got Houston now dropping to 2-8, and then after that, there's Baylor at home here on November 23rd. I've already done my prediction here for this game. I think both of these teams are pretty even. I think Houston is kind of desperate for a win at this point here in the Big 12. They're kind of desperate for Willie Fritz to get his first ever win as a head coach in the Big 12 as well. So I think both of these teams are pretty even in my opinion, and also home field advantage might be the difference here. I'm actually going to go with Houston here to get the win. So I think Houston finally gets a big win here in the Big 12, and it comes against Baylor here on November 23rd. So that puts Houston's record now at 3-8, and then the final game of the season is on the road here at BYU on November 30th, the Battle of the Cougars here. I wouldn't really call this like a rivalry game and everything. Both of these teams are not really close with one another, but both of these teams are home like the Cougars and everything, so this maybe could come like a future rivalry and everything. That's probably why they're playing in the last game of the regular season, but I've already done my BYU prediction a few days ago, and I did choose the BYU Cougars to win this one. I think it's a fairly close game. I think both teams are pretty even. Both teams coming off really disappointing years last year. BYU, I think, is going to be a little bit better this year, but home field advantage will be the difference. I'm going to go with BYU here to get the win in the Battle of the Cougars. So I got Houston finishing with a record here of 3-9 for 2024. Again, this is a team that I'm not really that high on. I think the future is definitely bright, though, for Willie Fritz and this Houston program. And there are winnable games here on this schedule for Houston. You got Cincinnati there on the road, Iowa State at home. I think TCU is also a winnable game. And same thing with Kansas. I think that probably could be a winnable game as well. But again, if they can go 5-7, that's definitely like a really good start to the Willie Fritz era. But if they make it to a bowl game, that's really, really a good start. But again, 3-9 is what I'm going to go with here for Houston just because of how tough this schedule is for 2024. So that is my prediction here for Houston. Let me guys know what you think about this Houston team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.